Hello, my name is Christopher Renstrom. I'm the creator of RulingPlanets.com and Christopher Renstrom Astrology. And I want to welcome you to my March horoscope forecast for 2025. On March 1st, Venus turns retrograde. A Venus retrograde is more than just a bad hair day. Named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty, Venus will be acting contrary to type as long as she is traveling backwards in the zodiac signs of Aries and Pisces. Needless to say, this isn't the time to change your look, switch love partners, or purchase any shiny new objects, because what catches your fancy in the moment will only leave you scratching your head in bewilderment later. But Venus retrograde brings more than just an unforeseen bout of questionable taste. It can also mean trouble. The planet of attraction in astrology, Venus retrograde, can turn you into a target of jealousy, covetousness, or bullying. For some inexplicable reason, people will just have it out for you. That's why it's so important to be disarming, courteous, and politic, even if it's someone else who's at fault. It may feel unfair, and like you're the one who has to bear the burden. But remember the Venus maxim: you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Venus will be retrograde until April 12th. Signs most affected are Aries, Taurus, Cancer, Libra, and Pisces. On March 2nd, the Sun will square Jupiter. You're on to bigger and better things, which is great. You just wish you knew where you were going and how much it would cost. But Sun-Jupiter square signals that this is one of those times when you just have to put your trust in the stars. Because figuring out the whys and wherefores would be like, I don't know, putting the cart in front of the horse. The freedom to reinvent doesn't come from repeating what's come before. It comes from winging it. Go with what inspires and enlivens you the most, and you can't go wrong. Signs most affected are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On March 3rd, Mercury enters the zodiac sign of Aries. You'll wake up feeling energized and zippy when Mercury, the planet of the mind, enters gung-ho Aries. This will be in stark contrast to the past few weeks, when you were feeling dazed, confused, and lost at sea. The wonderful thing about Mercury in Aries is that it bestows positive thinking. Your mind will be abuzz with fresh ideas, innovative concepts, and the intellectual determination to make things happen. No more what-if scenarios or if-only excuses for you. The only thing you have to watch out for is talking to people like they're slow on the uptake. Now, in truth, they might be, but you don't need to point it out. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Sagittarius. On March 5th, Mercury sextiles Pluto. It's a good idea to not take things at face value. When Mercury, the planet of inquiring minds, forms a sextile to Pluto, the planet of hidden agendas. This brings out all of your investigative tendencies, because the pieces to a puzzle just aren't fitting together in the way that they should be. Now, this could pertain to a work situation, a financial transaction, or even your date's flimsy excuse for canceling last minute. Indeed, the more you push for answers, the more question marks fly up instead. Follow these inconsistencies wherever they might lead, and you will surely get to the bottom of the situation. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. On March 6th, there will be a first quarter moon in the zodiac sign of Gemini. Everyone says that it's good to be in demand, but is there any way to turn it down a little? That's what you'll be wondering as today's first quarter moon in Gemini brings in a host of new orders, assignments, and potential purchases. Indeed, No sooner do you wrap things up with one person than you're rushing off to a new meeting with someone else. The best advice during hectic times like these is to respond to texts and emails as soon as you get them. You don't want things to pile up, and they will if you put them off for later. Gemini moons are conversational by nature, so the shorter the exchange, the faster you'll move on to the next item on your to-do list. It takes a bit of getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, you'll wonder how you ever conducted business before. Signs most affected are Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On March 8th, the Sun forms a trine to Mars. It's taken weeks to figure out what was wrong with your approach. Maybe you got tired of banging your head against the wall, or you saw that you were making something much harder than necessary. Then again, it might have been the opposite. You might have realized that others need you more than you need them, and that you should stop pandering to them. In any case, it's time to choose a different tack, one that economizes efforts and puts you squarely behind the wheel. It may feel a little reckless and like you're tempting fate, but you'll soon discover that it's not a crime to believe in yourself and to be the driving force in your own life. In fact, loved ones and friends have been wondering, what took you so long to clue in? Signs most affected are Aries, Cancer, Leo, Scorpio, and Pisces. On March 11th, Mercury forms a conjunction to Venus. This is one of the most charming planetary combinations that there is in astrology. Fun-loving and easygoing, you will have no problem breaking the ice with that stranger standing next to you at the checkout line, or in spin class, or the DMV. And once the two of you get to talking, then you won't be able to stop. You'll discover that you have all sorts of things in common, like music, films, humor, and ideas on how to save the world. So, is it possible that you can discover a new buddy just like that? Yes. It may seem old school, but it's nice to know that you can still friend people outside of Facebook. Signs most affected: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. On March 12th, the Sun forms a conjunction to Saturn. It's time to accept that responsibility you've been avoiding. Perhaps it's an obligation you worry will dominate your life, accountability for an action you hoped would be forgotten. Or maybe it's time to express what you really think, no matter how much it will upset other people. Sun-Saturn conjunctions rule those moments of truth when we're called upon to do the thing that we should have done all along. And given that March 12th marks their last conjunction in the zodiac sign of Pisces, then chances are this is something that you've been putting off for a while. But what you've been dreading for months could look quite different up close. Instead of distress, you might actually feel relieved at the prospect of putting your fears and anxieties behind you. It was United States President Franklin Delano Roosevelt who said, "You've nothing to fear but fear itself." And now that you're staring yours square in the eye, you may discover that it's not as overwhelming as all that. It might even be manageable. Signs most affected are Leo, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. On March 14th, there will be a lunar eclipse in the zodiac sign of Virgo. Feelings of being used and abused come bubbling to the surface today, and it will be all you can do to keep yourself from walking out on a situation where you feel exploited. It's important to remember that lunar eclipses tend to globalize. Rather than focusing on specifics, they often paint situations as the way things have always been and will be forever if you don't do something radically different. Remember that this eclipse is still Virgoan in nature, which means that the solution to your troubles lies in rewriting the script. This may very well be a time to jettison those obligations and associations that no longer benefit you and to make your own way. However, should you decide to stay, then look for a way to make yourself invaluable. Maybe it's finding your niche, perfecting your expertise, or creating a place at the table where there wasn't one before. Virgos learned a long time ago that service isn't servile, and that if you create a situation where you're indispensable, where others rely on you rather than you relying on them, then you get to call the shots, with no one being the wiser. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. On March 15th, Mercury turns retrograde in the zodiac sign of Aries. It could be said that Mercury takes a poltergeist's delight in wreaking havoc on the clockwork regularity of our day-to-day lives when it's retrograde. Appliances stop working, cars malfunction, and mobile devices start transmitting random messages with all of the freewheeling abandon of an unruly Ouija board. Needless to say, you'll want to take things with a grain of salt and to keep your sense of humor handy. Yet even backwards, Mercury is still a guide. It's the planet most responsible for getting us from here to there. Although the next 3 weeks may feel more like you're on a scavenger hunt from hell. You may be sent on a series of fool's errands, find yourself netting a school of red herrings, or spun about in place by contradictory directions that suddenly reverse themselves. Nevertheless, in the end, you'll wind up being where you're supposed to be. It may not be where you wanted to be, but it's definitely where you should be. Mercury will be retrograde from March 15th until April 7th. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Sagittarius. On March 19th, the Sun forms a conjunction to Neptune. It isn't always easy to tell the difference between a vision and a fantasy. Each beckons you to have faith in the phantasmal, to put aside your doubts and fears and follow your hopes and dreams. You pray that your dreams are taking you to the place where you want to go, that you'll arrive at a place in life where you can get everything you want. But you also can't escape this uncertain feeling that they might also be leading you astray. This is the question you'll be struggling with on March 19th, when the Sun conjoins Neptune in Pisces for the last time in our lifetimes. Are you really on track to getting what you want? Or are you just chasing after another mirage in the desert? Unfortunately, or fortunately, there's only one way to find out, and that's by pursuing your aspirations. And even if you wind up with a fistful of sand, it's better than not having pursued them in the first place and being left to wonder, what if? Signs most affected are Cancer, Leo, Scorpio, and Pisces. On March 20th, the Sun enters the zodiac sign of Aries. For centuries, it was the spring equinox that heralded the start of a new year. And in fact, it still does in Iran, Turkey, India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. It's called Nowruz, which means new day. The Sun is exalted in the zodiac sign of Aries because this is when the young sun, full of hope and possibility, begins the climb to its heavenly throne, where it will be at the peak of its powers later in the year. However, an exalted sun doesn't mean a strong sun. It means a celebrated one. This is the time to look ahead, to raise your sights, and to think about how you want your future to be different than your past. It's also a time to think about light triumphing over darkness. This isn't the lightness of day versus the darkness of night. Both are harmoniously balanced at the time of the equinox, but rather your personal light, triumphing over the forces that seek to discourage, disparage, and disenfranchise you. The Sun starts its new year on March 20th, and so do you. Signs most affected are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. On March 22nd, there will be a last quarter moon in the zodiac sign of Capricorn. A long-standing matter draws to a close. It's been a tedious process that took up a lot of time and energy, but it's nice to know that your efforts have borne fruit. Not only will you get a fair settlement, but there will be no hard feelings on either side of a dispute. And that's saying a lot, considering what was at stake. Now there's paperwork to attend to and agreements to sign. What else do you expect from a last quarter moon in Capricorn? But it's a small price to pay for the relief and the release. You may feel a melancholic pit in your stomach for the next few days, but don't let that detract from the exhilaration of finally being free. Signs most affected are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Another planetary aspect taking place on March 22nd is retrograde Venus, forming a conjunction to the Sun. It doesn't matter if you walk behind your boss, defer to a supervisor, or credit a colleague. It's not going to work. Venus, moving backward past the Sun in Aries on March 22nd, shows that all eyes are on you. It's kind of like Princess Diana standing next to her husband Charles. Everyone could care less about him. They just want to hear from you. They want to know what you think, what you feel, what you believe. Hopefully you're not surrounded by egos that bruise easily. And if you are, well, you can expect to do a lot of coddling and reassuring in the days ahead. Signs most affected are Aries, Taurus, Leo, Libra, and Sagittarius. On March 23rd, the Sun will form a sextile to Pluto. Pluto was named after the Roman god of the underworld. The judge of the dead, he ruled over the dark and shadowy realm that lies beneath the surface of the earth. Pluto ruled over seeds and corpses, but he also ruled over gold, silver, and precious metals. This is what made him the god of wealth and riches. In astrology, Pluto rules over our inner resources, things that lie hidden within us, like a buried treasure, things that we disregard or don't recognize, like an untapped potential or a latent talent. Today's sextile gives you a unique opportunity to make use of something you never thought of making use before, and this will make all the difference. Signs most affected are Gemini, Leo, Libra, and Aquarius. On March 24th, retrograde Mercury will be Cazimi. You're alert and on top of your game now that Mercury, planet of the mind, is Cazimi. What does Cazimi mean? Cazimi refers to the heart of the sun, and any planet traveling this close to the sun is said to make the leap from a weakened and exhausted state to a robust and raring to go one. You can think of it as your mental faculties being back online after having spent days searching for a signal. Now, the Cazimi only lasts for a day, so you're going to have to act fast. Mercury Cazimi is the perfect time to bluff your way out of a corner, to meet with that person everyone said you couldn't meet, or to take the most calculated of risks. Aim high and shoot far, because this unique combination of audacity, savvy, and timing ensures that you will be successful. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Sagittarius. On March 27th, Venus retrogrades back into the zodiac sign of Pisces. Venus back in Pisces and then conjunct Neptune can signal a backslide. This is when you take back that person you know is no good for you. You return to a dysfunctional situation that you can't hope to win, or go back to life in the small pond after discovering you are out of depth in the big one. You know that what you're doing is backwards, but sometimes that's what's needed. There's nothing wrong with craving comfort. We've all experienced times when we want to swing on a swing set again, like we did when we were kids. However, you'll soon discover that life has changed. That you can't make yourself be accommodating again, that you can't make yourself small again or self-sacrificing again. It may not be the answer, but it's the reality. And that's something that you'll come to see for yourself when Venus comes out of retrograde on April 12th. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, and Pisces. On March 29th, there will be a solar eclipse in Aries. This will be the last solar eclipse in Aries for years to come. But instead of heralding a dramatic departure, you may find yourself fumbling with your shoelaces at the starting gate. That's because retrograde Mercury will be forming a conjunction to Neptune at the last degree of Pisces on the same day. So it looks like you're not as prepared as you think you are for the next big step, and you may even be plagued by second thoughts. Yet, this isn't the time to explain away internal reservations that may have a point. Yes, doubts weaken resolve, but sometimes it's only when we're at a crossroads that we see clearly. If you need to call a halt to something that's already in motion, then do it. A pause in the action to reflect wouldn't be the worst thing. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. On March 30th, Neptune enters the zodiac sign of Aries. There are different kinds of crusades: moral, political, environmental, and even anti-war ones. Sometimes sanctified and sometimes spur of the moment, they can quickly take on a life of their own, overflowing their banks and overwhelming the very leaders who got them started. More than a movement, but not quite an army, crusaders gather together under one banner and are driven by a single vision. Neptune in Aries can create an atmosphere where you get caught up in the zeal and appeal of a popular cause, and, once enlisted, you will fight to the finish. Hopefully, this is more a battle of ideas than a battle of fists, because the latter can get bloody. Mars, ruler of Aries, was named after the Roman god of war, so there's an us versus them animosity that comes streaming through Neptune when it's in this particular sign. However, the energy can be redirected into more positive outlets, like healthy competition, vigorous contesting of staid norms, and a celebration of individuals who rise above the fray. Your crusade shouldn't be focused just on fighting the good fight, but on ennobling and improving the lives around you. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, Aquarius, and Pisces. If you enjoyed what you saw, please press the like button. It helps more than you know. If you could subscribe, that would be wonderful. I've had such a wonderful time visiting with you this week, and I can't wait to get together next time on Christopher Renstrom Astrology.